Hello and welcome to Federal Flash. I'm Philip Lovell and I'm joined by Nikki McKinney. This week, we'll review news from the U.S. Department of Education on competitive grants and provide updates on state plans submitted under the Every Student Succeeds Act, or ESSA. We'll also discuss the reauthorization of the Carl D. Perkins Career and Technical Education Act and President Trump's nominee to serve as General Counsel at the Department of Education. Let's turn to Nikki for a readout on the department's proposed new priorities around competitive grants.
Thanks, Philip. Last week, the department published a set of 11 new priorities for discretionary grant programs and is seeking comment from the public before they are finalized. The proposed list will help guide the way in which competitive grants are awarded. It includes priorities around expanding school choice, a cornerstone of the Trump administration's education agenda, promoting effective instruction in classrooms, and meeting the needs of students with disabilities, among other items. The top Democrats on the House and Senate Education Committees, Representative Bobby Scott and Senator Patty Murray, released statements expressing concern that the proposed list includes efforts to divert taxpayer dollars away from public schools to private schools. Scott said, quote, "Despite the lack of evidence proving the effectiveness of vouchers, the Secretary is proposing to divert taxpayer dollars to private schools and for-profit interests through the use of supplemental priorities. This is not aligned with the will of Congress nor taxpayers. I urge the Secretary to heed the advice of the overwhelming majority of Americans and prioritize investment in public schools and the students they serve," end quote. To view the department's proposed priorities in their entirety or to comment on them in the Federal Register, visit the link below. Comments are being accepted until November 13th.
Thanks, Nikki. According to the department, the remaining states submitting plans for the fall deadline are ready for peer review. This means a group of experts will review the ESSA state plans and make their recommendations to the Secretary on whether or not the plans comply with the law. For those keeping track of the plans that were submitted in the spring, all have been approved by the department with the exception of Colorado and Michigan. The Alliance has condensed many of these 200-plus page state plans into a one-page ESSA equity dashboard. The dashboard provides a red, yellow, green light analysis for 13 indicators on how states are and are not prioritizing equity. You can find the dashboard for your state at the link below.
A bipartisan group of 59 senators sent a letter to Senate Education Committee leadership urging them to, quote, "take action on reauthorization of the Carl D. Perkins Career and Technical Education Act as soon as possible," end quote. The House of Representatives unanimously approved the Strengthening Career and Technical Education Act for the 21st Century earlier this year, but efforts to move the legislation in the Senate have been mired by partisan disagreements over the oversight role of the Secretary of Education in administering the program.
On Wednesday, Carlos Muniz cleared an important hurdle in his quest to serve as General Counsel at the Education Department. The Senate Education Committee held an executive session on his nomination, and he was voted out on a straight party-line vote, meaning that all Republicans voted in favor of his nomination and all Democrats opposed. His nomination will now go before the full Senate for a vote before he can assume his role. And finally, in case you weren't able to watch live, you can view an archived version of the Alliance's webinar on the Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals, or DACA program. The webinar provides important information on the right of every child to public education regardless of their immigration status. It also has the latest on the DREAM Act and how you can support its passage. To view the webinar and to access additional resources, please visit the link below. That's all for now. For an email alert when the next episode of Federal Flash is available, email us at alliance@allfored.org. Thanks for watching.
Federal Flash is the Alliance for Excellent Education's video series on important developments in education policy in Washington, D.C. in 5 minutes or less.